Of all the new sim gadgets that I've tested personally that were released in the last 10 years, this is the one that you actually need to pay attention to. Hello YouTubers, this is the noobifier. This product works because it plays with physics, your brain and how your body interprets physics. Newton's first law is that a body in motion tends to remain in motion, and when you're strapped into a moving car and brakes are applied, or the car gets a little bit light at the top of a crest, your body applies pressure to the restraint system, or another way to look at it is that the restraints hold you where you're supposed to be. In sim though, we don't really get this real physics because you're not actually moving, so there's no actual inertia. If we apply a false pull at the correct time, and the force based on the situation, it would feel correct and it would trick your brain. That's the idea. And this is the most simple way that I can describe what's going on and why it actually works. The BT1 from QUBIC is still pretty expensive. It costs more than most of the upper end wheelbases, but it's still only about a fifth the price of most entry motion systems. So if you can't and don't want to add motion, this might be the one piece of sim gear that you should start saving for. The BT1 is a product that's been out for quite some time, and many have reviewed it already. The math multiplies instead of adding. BT1 by itself is, let's say, a 1, and motion by itself is a 2, but adding BT1 and motion together somehow adds up to 5. BT1 is really good by itself, but it's even better when being added with motion. Unboxing is great with a thick boxed box around a thick layer of cardboard to make sure that everything doesn't get dented in transportation. Older versions have a metallic power supply with a fan, and the newer ones have a plastic power supply that runs quiet. There's a USB-A to Type B, a quick start guide, a safety stop wire, and a cheater plug if you don't want to add a red stop button. Shouldn't actually need a red stop button, as even if the device is set to kill 100%, you can easily unbelt yourself and slip out. It's strong for sure, but it's not going to hurt you. There are several mounting options depending on what you have. There are dedicated mounts for the regular QUBIC systems. The outside of the unit is powder-coated steel with a good mass. The connections are below to keep things tidy. There are some fan vent holes and some LEDs on the back. There are 2 belt pullers on the top. There's no power switch on the unit, and you don't want to constantly be plugging and unplugging because that'll arc out the connector, so you can add a power bar with a power switch somewhere. All of my systems are running on 240 volt despite me living in North America. The computers, the screens, the wheelbases, and the motion systems are all on 240, but everything except for the QSS35 motion platform will operate on 110. BT1 has a very simple design and it blends in nicely with your system. The LEDs on the back do a couple of fun things. At idle, you're going to have that back and forth red light, which is like Knight Rider or a Cylon, depending on how old you are. And this is there to remind you that the system is powered on. When you apply the brake in game, it's going to light up red. When you go into reverse, it'll light up white. It'll blink yellow or blue when traction control or ABS are working. And these won't seem to serve an immediate purpose to the occupant, but I will say that if I was trying to coach a new player or driver, seeing this in real time when they apply the brake, how hard traction control is working, would actually let me provide some constructive feedback. I've been testing different configurations for belts over the last couple of months. People who have visited have also been asked for their opinions on different configurations. The belts aren't included, and there are 2 basic things that you can think of, which are 2 or 3 inch webbing, and then 4 or more point harnesses. The BT1 can pull very hard, but doesn't need to. I've preferred the 3 inch wide belts, but these come with some complications, and those are that they're more likely to bind in the seat and they don't work very well with smaller people, or they work less well with smaller people. Wider belts can also come closer to your neck, so I'm in the process of ordering a Hans device, not because I need head and neck support, but because I think it'll be a nicer place for the belts to ride on. Shout out to Jeff Anton for a great idea. 4-point belts do work, however, to get the most out of them, the waist belts need to be very, very snug, almost uncomfortably snug. If they're not snug, the BT1 will pull the shoulder belts up and lift the waist belt up like a training bra. 5-point belts remedy the issue, allowing you to be more comfortable, but now you need to consider the seat middle hole and a way to secure this additional belt. There are no extra benefits going from a 5 to a 6-point for this application. The belt is set and adjusted before the BT1 is attached. The BT1 should be able to pull a tight belt, but it should not be the only thing attached to the rear belts. The rear belts need to be secured to the frame, and then the BT1 pulls when needed. The BT1 is smarter than it looks. When you brake harder, rather than just pulling further or pulling more, it's, as I said, intelligent and slick, so it pulls harder instead. It knows how hard each is being pulled, so even if you didn't balance the belts, it'll still pull consistently. I've tested a couple types of seats. The basic Sparco R1000 worked well with the 2-inch 4-point, but it lacked the middle hole and didn't really like the 3-inch wide straps. I swapped over to a legit quirky aluminum seat with a rigid back and a middle hole. It looks uncomfortable, but it's surprisingly comfortable. I noticed friction riding the rear seat holes, and tall people received an odd pull down due to their height in relation to the holes. So I added a piece of 2080 to the seat back as a friction point. I'm thinking about adding a roller system that's being worked on at the moment, but I'm actually quite happy with the results. When connected, the QUBIC Manager software will let you adjust your experience. You may wish to reduce the bass tune for the braking effect and add a little bit more road texture. You may like to add more pull down for rally games when flying through the air, and you may like to disable the left and right pull during corners. Again, this is up to you. Each of the profiles remember the settings for each game, so you can get the perfect experience in all games. And as I said, as you add a more capable motion system, the effect on all of this is improved. So that's the technical stuff, but what's it like to use? What does it do for the occupant, and why would you be interested in it? Flight and driving. In flight, you're going to benefit from the BT1's ability to pull down during negative G-forces when banking, landing, braking, and at takeoff. You will feel the main rotor of the helicopter in your shoulders, and you will feel the craft react to your commands. In driving on road, you're more connected to the texture of the road. You feel when your tires break traction, and you feel bumps in the road. You feel the engine. Braking hard, cutting over a corner, getting lighter at the top of Eau Rouge, or dropping into corkscrew. You will feel all of this better. Pushing hard on a rally stage over jumps, and then feeling the car completely change, traversing from mud to tarmac to snow. Not one person who's tested it didn't immediately say, wow, the first time they hit the brakes very hard. And not one person who tested it didn't immediately smile or laugh the first time they shifted gears wide open throttle. The BT1, in my opinion, isn't optional anymore for my customers. And yes, I believe it's that good. We come to the end of the video, and I hope that I've been able to express to you what all the fuss is about the BT1. Possibly for many of you, this is the first very large investment in simulation, but it locks in immersion like nothing else. So if you're in the market and you're able to make your way to our studio, it's designed to serve as a showroom for you to be able to test before you decide. Contact us using the contact button on the website or by noobifiermedia@gmail.com. Thank you very much for spending your time with me. There are more items being tested every week, so sub to be made aware of the new content as it's released. Drive safe.